normal people become terrified of criminals.
Shots were just fired. Police just came out and told us, and we're headed there right now.
They become terrified of their own government.
Texas AG Paxton is suing PFIZER for attempted censorship and misrepresenting COVID-19 vaccination. This is wild. Of course, we always start these videos by saying, don't take medical advice from strangers and make sure you talk to a doctor about what's right for you. But according to Attorney General Ken Paxton, PFIZER misrepresented the efficacy of the vaccines. The lawsuit alleges that PFIZER gave the impression its vaccine would end the COVID-19 pandemic and that the company's claims of its shot being 95% effective were misleading. More than 366 million doses of Pfizer's original coronavirus vaccine were administered, et cetera, et cetera. We get all that. He says the facts are clear. PFIZER did not tell the truth about their COVID-19 vaccines, whereas the Biden administration weaponized the pandemic to force illegal public health decrees on the public and enrich pharmaceutical companies. I will use every tool I have to protect our citizens who are misled and harmed by PFIZER's action. This is wild.
That's cool. I think I heard Dr. Drew and Kelly Victory talking about that on Drew's show. Well, their show. They have a show together on YouTube. I think they've been talking about this like before. Like they knew this was coming. I don't know if they've mentioned Texas or any of that. And I don't want to misrepresent, but I feel like I've heard this coming down the pipe. And there's more data that'll be coming down the pipe about these things from the scientists I've been listening to.
Here's the crazy thing, right? So we also got this other information that came out earlier this morning that YouTube was colluding with the government to censor COVID-19. Misinformation, they called it. The only problem is you have actual board certified doctors on YouTube who are getting censored and banned for giving their medical opinions. I believe YouTube should be held civilly liable to anybody who was adversely affected by the medical advice YouTube gave. I believe it is fair to say that when YouTube announced their editorial guidelines on what was true medical information, they effectively gave that medical advice to individuals. So here, I'll give you an example. You were allowed on YouTube to advocate that people go into parking lots and get injected by strangers. You are not allowed to tell people not to do that.
Yeah.
If you said, I don't think it's safe, you shouldn't do it, you got banned.
Because they were not allowing the opposite opinion of it, you're saying.
Yep. So YouTube was making sure that the only thing people could hear was, go and do this thing. And anybody who challenged it,
I mean, I'd love that to happen.
Suspended.
Yeah.
So anybody, not every medication is for everybody. You might go to your doctor and they're going to be like, they ask you this all the time. Do you have any medicine allergies? Let's say someone might have. And all these YouTubers are like, what's the problem? Go and do it. Go and do it. Go and do it. Medical advice that YouTube said to give. And then someone go to a 7-Eleven parking lot. Turns out they were allergic and got sick. YouTube should be responsible for that.
Have you seen the test that YouTube? I got a strike or a warning on my channel.
For what?
For Alex Stein actually coming on my show. And then he was making a joke about the vaccine being safe and effective, but this was like 2 years ago. And then he was being sarcastic, but saying the right words. And then they gave me a warning. But then now they have a thing where they're like, you log in sometimes. And so I logged in and they go, you can take this test to get rid of your warning. And it had all these questions and they're all COVID related. And some of them are so confused. Oh man, I'll have to pull it up. You guys talk, I'll try and find it. But some of them were literally so confusing where I'm like, I don't even really like, some of these like a nurse, she took COVID and it said it made her like barren or something. And then like, is this allowed? And I'm like, I think not. But then it was, but it is because she's like a nurse and it's her own.
No. They said a personal anecdote is fine, but widespread theories are not. And it's like, how is the average person supposed to know any of this?
It's really confusing test like to take. Like I was like answering. I'm like, I don't know.
Do you think they give it to you to deter you from talking about it? You just
no.
it's easier?
It's so weird. They're just like, we'll take do the test. It's 7 questions, and if you pass the test, then or if you take the test or whatever, then in 3 months, if you don't get another strike, we'll remove your warning.
Do you have to get 100% on the test?
I don't know. I think I did.
Nice work.
Thank you. Yeah, I cheated. No, I don't know if you have to. I think it might be like even if you take it, then they show you what the right answer is. I think you just keep going.
That's crazy. So anecdotal statements about doing something was okay, but widespread saying like
if you said like this thing does this thing to people, that's a no-no. But if you said I did this thing and this happened to me, they said that was fine.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Yeah, it's nonsense.
I feel like it's designed to make people be like, I don't want to lose. I don't want to get any strikes. Like, I'll just stay away from this topic entirely. So they're saying, oh, no, we are allowed to say whatever you want. We just make it so you live in fear and avoid it.
Okay, here's question 6 of 7 for me, okay? Jing is a nurse who makes educational health content. In her latest video, she shares that since getting the COVID-19 vaccine last year, She has had 3 miscarriages. She says that the COVID-19 vaccine made her infertile. And it says, select the correct answers. This video doesn't violate the policy because she's a medical professional. This video doesn't violate the policy because Jing is allowed to share her personal experience. And then the third one is this video doesn't violate the policy because Jing is not spreading medical misinformation.
So it would be the second one, according to Tim, and they just want to make sure.
I think that's what the answer was.
They want to make sure.
But I remember thinking about it, I'm like, I'm not sure because the previous questions were kind of the same, but they were like, no, you can't say this. It does violate these things.
You need a name like Jing to be able to get away with it, sounds like.
And she's a nurse, Jing the nurse, so.
Oh, wow. So it's like a multiple choice test, and they're like, did you read the terms? Do you understand?
But they don't ask you to read anything in advance of this. They're not like, hey, read this thing and take the test. They're just like, take this test.
Huh.
And we'll take away your warning in 3
This
months.
is like, I'm glad it's been documented by humanity because this is the first time in medical history that the widespread, first of all, global, they call it a pandemic, and mass media with the individual being able to say whatever you want to a crowd of 1 million people collided. That's a funny word, collide. So how are we going to handle it next time? What are we supposed to do?
And it's interesting because there were all these moments where we would say like the myocarditis that like suddenly was detected, especially among young men. And you would see it happening in different European countries being like, well, we think we're going to maybe limit this vaccine. They would start dialing back down. And the states would be like, no, that's not real. Like that's a flu. It's a whatever. And then it became more and more pronounced that this was something that was happening internationally.
And like actual doctors, like Dr. J, he's like works at Stanford and he's straight up like, yeah, that's like we should. And they're like, you're off.
That's what doesn't make sense.
We should do nothing.
He's an expert.
I'm not some staunch conservative. I think Republicans should come out and sit at a big table in a press conference and all just kind of look at each other and be like, we heard that liberals wanted to abort their kids. We're for this. Yeah, we're all for that. Democrats, please abort your children and thank you. And they get up and walk out. Like, make the point. Blue states, my point is, if people want to do these things, you have a choice to determine for yourself. The problem is the government authoritarianism.
Yeah, that's the big problem, is that the government was most likely involved in telling these companies what to censor.
Well, the government was colluding with YouTube. So the problem is always government mandates authoritarianism and censorship. When it comes to what should the people do, well, the people as individuals should decide, but we should restrict. We should vote for people who are not going to allow the government to do these things, to weed them out. That's what matters.
And have like systems where if that does happen, it's happening.
I mean, for sure, YouTube got their direction about this stuff. I mean,
it's a fact. The emails were released.
Yeah, exactly. Right. I mean, even still, YouTube has a policy where they still have COVID stuff. They say you can't say on YouTube that the vaccine makes you magnetic. That is a current strikeable offense.
Can I just say, like,
and it doesn't.
But
it does not make you magnetic.
I just kind of say, like, that's the stupidest, most insane thing ever.
Like, you'd think, like, you'd be like, yeah, the vaccine doesn't turn you into a pig. And they would say, hey, you can't say that. You're like, we know it doesn't, though. And you go, yeah, but
did you see all those videos where people would stick magnets to their arms? And then they were like, what's happening? I have a magnet on my arm. I was like, dude, it's called oil on your skin. That's it.
But, like, what's the harm in that? Like, what are they so worried about that this is going to spiral out of control?
Listen. I think you need to understand, right? The people who watch a show like this, and you guys, you guys have inner monologues, right? Like when you think there are words, and you think to yourself, because there are people who
I say everything I think. I don't have that. No,
there are some people who don't have inner monologues.
Two guys in my head fighting all the time.
And that's better. You have two. You have
bare knuckle boxing.
You have a dialogue.
The censorship guys in a full Nelson right now.
My point is, the way YouTube views things is, you guys might be smart enough to realize you're not going to become magnetic. But there are a lot of people who are not that smart, and they're going to believe it. Yeah. Now, my view is the decentralized view of let people believe what they want to believe. You should not be the authoritarian top-down government says so, because the government gets things wrong. And then what happens when that guy... Listen, this is the problem. The people who thought you would be turned magnetic get into government. And then they tell YouTube to censor people who believe the truth. That's why we don't want this.
I can't vote, but I would vote for Magnet Guy for president 1,000%.
All these
I think
superheroes.
PFIZER just needs to get Anheuser-Busch's marketing girl and starts presenting these things that like we know are adverse effects as positives. Like, girls, great new form of birth control. You won't get pregnant if you get the Pfizer vaccine, and they would do it. There are all kinds of women. I mean, obviously, I don't advocate this for myself. Everyone should have a family, but I think that there is a way they could spin this that's like super dark, but actually fits current narratives. That was like, this is a great idea. You want these things to happen.
I bet this is a debate that goes on deeply in the government, at the head of the government, at the head of YouTube, social networks. Is like, how stupid are people? How manipulatable are they?
Should we ban
they do
insane
think
clown
there is
posse?
like an element where they go like, people are a danger to themselves. Like a cohort of the population, probably like a large segment of it, is a danger to themselves, and we need to protect people from themselves. But then it just, again, like, there's adverse effects from the stuff that they made you do.
We were talking before the show that, like, how many people does it take to create a movement? And it's like one guy can tell a bunch of people to do something, and then they all start telling people to do the thing.
Thanks for watching this clip from the Timcast IRL podcast. Hang out with us live Monday through Friday at 8 p.m. and become a member over at timcast.com for uncensored, members-only shows exclusive. Thanks for hanging out, and we'll see you all next time.